Alright, we'll see here in a second if we're actually on here. Looks like we've got a stream up. I wonder if I can hear this. Looks like we've got a... Yep, okay. Sounds like audio is coming through okay. Yeah, this is the first stream on YouTube, by the way, so I'm kind of like trying to click through and see what all we're going to break and all that fun stuff before we really get rolling here. But I think we're doing all right. So, yeah, welcome YouTube. Kind of done a little bit of the streaming thing over on Twitch previously, but we're gonna switch to using YouTube here because all my other content's over here, and I think I kind of want to keep everything in one place and all together. So, I'm not planning on archiving the stream. This is probably going to disappear after this is done, so I'm not planning on this sticking around. I guess when we're live streaming on Twitch will like automatically keep VODs for you, but I guess in OBS I've got it recording anyway, so we should be okay there. So, as far as what we had to cover tonight, I guess, if you're still fairly new here to the YouTube thing, I do streams from like automotive type stuff. I guess we're on the Game Automotive channel right now, so that's I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do all this and like what channel I'm mainly going to stream to and all that kind of thing. So we'll still have that to deal with down the road. So it may change, like as far as what channel I'm streaming on. But today is mostly like tools and that kind of thing. So I kind of figured, why not put it back on the automotive channel? I know there's not a whole lot of subscriptions here. There are a few over on the Gamma Tech channel, but yeah, I kind of wanted to do things a little more in line with the content that we're going to have here today. So, without too much further dragging on and explaining things, I guess we can start getting into looking at some tools here. They've got everything decently within arm's reach here, but yeah. So here recently, I ended up not being able to find my hammer, and from that particular thing happening, I determined that we needed a new hammer. Sorry for the knee crack. So what I ended up getting was a Milwaukee hammer. I kind of went on a Milwaukee spree here recently, so we're going to see a whole lot of Milwaukee tonight. But I went with one of their hammers. I'm pretty trusting of a lot of their tools, as we'll see here. I'm not going to claim to be a real like general use hammer kind of savant or anything by any means, but this, one of the things that really attracted me to this hammer was that it had an anti-vibration or vibration reduction kind of deal going on with it. I know when you start hammering on stuff repeatedly, and I'm not really planning on using this as much for carpentry work, although that may end up happening, because there's a lot of little things that I want to end up making and all that sort of thing. And like if I do stuff for inside, it's probably going to be a lot of like bookshelves and that kind of thing, I imagine. But anyway, when you're repeatedly using a hammer, all the shock and everything that's coming up through the hammer will actually like numb your arm after a while. So I specifically wanted to get something with vibration reduction because I knew that was a thing. So this should be, like if you're going to be using it repeatedly for a long period of time, this should be a lot easier to use for a longer period of time, I guess. Let's see, what else have we got on here? Yeah, they really just talk about the shock shield grip. So one of the other things that you'll find with hammers too, with like the general purpose, they have multiple weights. This is a 22 ounce. I think 20 ounce is probably like your more common, what you're going to see a lot more of. But this one does have a little more weight to it than your standard hammer. So I guess if you're really, back here on it and you're hammering away at whatever you're trying to put together, this thing has got some butt behind it. And then, if it's something I'm just trying to lightly tap, I know like people will judge you for choking up on a hammer, but I don't have any issue with doing that if that's something like you don't want to completely wail on whatever you're working on. One of the things I wasn't like real thrilled about on this hammer is that it has a kind of a textured face up here. Do they call that anything specific? Milled face. Um, wasn't really thrilled about that because if you start hammering on like wood and that kind of thing, this print will leave itself once you get the nail driven all the way in. But as far as what was available at Home Depot when I bought this was the only Milwaukee hammer they had. And one of the things I found when you go with the better brand tools, they will work a lot of extra little perks and everything into their stuff. So when it comes to especially like woodworking and that kind of stuff, I expect Milwaukee to be pretty good. So I'm hoping that I won't have to rebuy things later on down the road quite as much or quite as soon because there's something latest and greatest that I don't have. But so let's see, precision balanced design, which when you're grabbing in here, it definitely feels more balanced than what it does down. Well, actually, that doesn't feel too bad either. But I guess they're talking as far as like the actual top up here. Like this is the front's probably balanced with the back. The claws overhang far enough to kind of help that. One of the other things I noticed about it too, and I haven't really bought a lot of nice hammers in the past, so maybe this is like a more common thing than I'm aware of. Because I was noticing as I went through that it was available on a lot of the different hammers that were in that display, but this has a magnetic hold up on top here to hold a nail if you're going to be starting in a nail. So the little magnet's right down here, and you can kind of set the head of the nail down in that little groove right there, that little channel. And your nail will sit in this little recess spot right here, and you can like actually start nails that way, and you don't have to hold it and like smash your fingers like we did with cheaper hammers. Especially with a 22 ounce hammer with a milled face, that probably wouldn't feel great. But yeah, as far as like the other hammers having that too, like at the same time while I was buying this, I'm getting tired of running back and forth to the car to grab tools that I need for in the apartment. So I ended up buying myself a second hammer as well for in here. So I ended up getting a 16 ounce Husky that also has the nail holding deal available on it. This one seems like it's probably a little more restrictive maybe than what the Milwaukee one is. Like you're not going to be able to get as much different stuff in here as what you can with the Milwaukee, but I think this may actually provide like a little better hold too. So I don't know, pluses and minuses to both of that. And the Husky I think was about $5 cheaper. As you get lighter in weight, they get a little bit cheaper, and I don't know. I guess just because it doesn't say Milwaukee on it, it does get a little bit cheaper. But I did get the smooth face on this one too. So I guess if I am doing work more inside the apartment, that it's a little better for that. Let's see. As far as the highlights they have on this one piece design for strength and durability. Duh, you're going to be hammering with it. This does have also like the lighter weight looking handle. I didn't see anything really. Okay, yeah, ergonomic vibration reducing handles. So there was another vibration reduction for this one as well. And they have one piece forged steel, magnetic nail starter, and ergonomic vibration reducing handle. If I can get words out. And then we do have a warranty on this one as well. So I guess that's cool. Let's see here. I wonder if they have information. Oh, and they have I-beam design resists bending on the back of this thing as well. I'm kind of curious to see if they show where this thing is manufactured anywhere on here. Because that matters to some people. It doesn't really matter so much to me as long as the thing stays in one piece and it doesn't break. I don't see anywhere on the Milwaukee where it says where it's made. Like it has their company location, but that could be corporate headquarters and not necessarily where things are being made at. Let's see. So they got notes on the back of this thing. User and bystander wears safety glasses. Use unit to drive and pull common unhardened nails. This tool should not be struck by or against an equally hard or harder object, such as a hammer, nail puller, sledge, or hardened nail. Chipping may occur, causing eye or other injury to bystander. Discard if chipping, mushrooming, or other damage occurs. Strike squarely. Avoid glancing blows. If you can aim your hammer properly. Let's see. There's nothing else in there about... Oh, made in Taiwan. There it is. I found it. Yeah, so this is Taiwanese. This is Vietnamese. Interesting. But yeah, so those are the hammers that we ended up getting. This thing should be a nice addition to the toolbox. Speaking of which, I still need like an actual toolbox eventually, but the Miata makes for a decent rolling toolbox at this point, so... So in addition to that, while we were getting hammers, the actual like purpose of the trip was to get screwdriver bits. And again, sticking with the Milwaukee theme for tonight, I got a 45-piece set from them. I can't like hold straight on over. Okay, there we go. So the 45-piece set, there was a 50-piece set as well, but it looked like it had some repeat stuff and just like regular Phillips bits and that kind of thing. If you're going to be wearing them out frequently, maybe that would make a little more sense, but I think it was in the Phillips bits and that kind of thing. It was just something that really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I think they might have like more nut drivers and that kind of thing, which is something that like I've got ratchets and stuff for, so I'm not really planning on doing a whole lot of screwdriver, you know, using nut drivers and that kind of thing with screwdrivers. So, and actually, I think it may have just been in the nut drivers, because that was something that made a lot less sense to me. Like the Phillips drivers and that kind of thing, you're going to be using with screwdrivers a lot more. So they do include a couple of number 2s in this, I believe, or number 2 Phillips. So that's going to be quite handy. One of the things I did like about this was I think we've talked. Well, okay, so we haven't talked previously on this channel, but when we live streamed to when we had live streamed to Twitch, I believe I had brought up Project Farm on there previously on YouTube. And the guy does a lot of testing and that kind of thing, and Milwaukee actually did the best in his test as far as like not deteriorating over so many uses. So that's one of the things that kind of really brought me to get the Milwaukee set. There are multiple adapters for going into a regular drill to be able to run or like extensions and that kind of thing. I believe where the center narrows down, I think actually allows for a little more flex in the bit, so that like if you're doing an impact or something like that, it's not going to hurt these things quite as much. And these are, yeah, shockwave impact duty. So these are impact adapters and that kind of thing that you can use in an impact driver. And that was kind of one of my things that I wanted to be able to do with this, was to be able to use the 3/8 drive adapter in here inside of my, well, because I'm trying to think here. I'd already figured all of my reasoning out and everything, and I'm trying to remember it now. But yeah, I don't currently have impact sockets, so that wasn't as big of a deal. What would have been a good deal was to be able to use, like, I've got a couple of old DeWalt drills and that kind of thing laying around still, and it would be nice to be able to take that and be able to use like sockets and that kind of thing for being able to run bolts and stuff back out once you get them broke loose. I don't like hitting bolts that I'm trying to loosen with an impact, because then you run the risk of breaking it a lot more. But so as far as what this kit contains, we have Phillips up here in several different sizes. I'd say probably number 1, and then we got number 2 up here as well, and then the big one is probably a number 3. There's some square drive in here as well. I'm assuming these down here are probably double-ended from where they're a little bit longer. But we've got Torx and just a regular flathead screwdriver up here on the end of this one, and a couple of Phillips as well. Nut drivers, more Torx, more slotted screwdrivers. Looks like a little bit of hex down in there. So, I mean, as far as like the standard stuff you're going to be driving, that's part of the reason why I like this kit, was that it has a lot of the standard stuff in it. It doesn't have a whole lot of the special things, which I already have in another screwdriver set. And if I need, you know, it's not something you're going to be using a drill on really as much, I don't believe. So that's what kind of brought me to this kit. So yeah, we'll end up taking this thing out of the plastic later. And they've got a thing on here for a magnet right beside the hex, so I don't know if the hex bits that are in here are actually magnetic, or maybe all of them are magnetic. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we'll take this out. We'll put this to use. And I'm kind of looking down through the bottom of the packaging here to make sure I didn't lie to you. I think these 4 over here are double bits, and they have like a shorter extension, and then they have the full length as well. Well, this is more of like an extended version. This is more of your standard. But so we've got that to toy around with now. So kind of, yeah, because I don't already have that out of the packaging, I'm just going to leave that as it is. I was kind of thinking it would be nice to take one of the bits out and kind of actually get a look at the bit itself, but yeah, that's where it's going to stay because I don't want to take forever trying to cut that thing out of plastic here on the stream. Let's see. Interesting. So, what is my stream health looking like? It looks like YouTube feels the need to tell me repeatedly, you should lower your bitrate. No. Yeah, we're streaming right around 10,000 kilobit, and it wants us to downgrade all the way to 4,500, when even on Twitch's max was 6,000 kilobits per second. But here on YouTube, we're actually able to turn the bitrate up a little bit, which is just fine on my internet connection. I've got a really nice connection here. And it hasn't given me any issues with the stream dropping out or anything like that since, so I think we're doing okay here. Yeah. Okay, so we're sticking with what we got here. All right, so I do have one other thing that I got too that I kind of wanted to be able to bring on stream here, but I'll have to show it a different time because it's literally too big to fit in my area that I have back here. We ended up getting, or I ended up getting an engine support bar from OTC that actually has a. Normally, your engine support bar will run from. Let's actually switch over to the desktop here, and I'll show you something really quickly. So normally your engine support bar will run from. Let's see, do we have? No. Okay, so it'll run from one side of the fender to the other, and you can kind of hook it to support the engine in the center. The one that I got from OTC actually has a third leg that sticks off of it, and it sits up here on the radiator support to kind of help prevent the engine from rocking back and forth. In the case of a, well, I guess front to back basically is what it stops the engine from being able to rock. But we'll show that later. I guess one of the other things I was looking at here too is on YouTube, until you get 1,000 subscribers, you can actually do a live stream from mobile, which is where a lot of my live streams are going to end up happening from, as far as like from the tracks and as we're working on things. So those will probably stay on Twitch for the time being. But yeah, from like actual PC streams, I'm able to do it from here. So that's what we're going to do here for now. I kind of thought the PC streams here anyway would be a cool way to kind of connect and hang out a little bit more. So that's where this is happening from. So anyway, there we are. Found my cursor. To kind of go back to the unboxings that we were doing here. I don't know if this one's going to fit in really well either, but we'll try. We have an OTC serpentine belt tool. And we'll go ahead and get this out of the packaging here. I'm just going to cut the band off of the end of it here so we can slide the sleeve off. Right. I didn't get hit in the face with that, so that was a good start. Alright, so get this out of the way. This thing really just has the part number on it. This is made in Taiwan too, apparently, which isn't a bad thing, I don't think. Taiwan, I don't think, uses improper manufacturing policies quite as much as some of the other countries in the area. So, all right. I literally don't think this thing has anything on it. Yeah, nothing else really to talk about on the sleeve. Whoops, that was probably loud. Sorry. So yeah, this is the actual case that the tool is going to be inside of. Trying. There we go. Close enough. Whatever. I don't think there's going to be any real packaging information or anything on this. Like, if you need this thing, you probably already know what it does. So fair enough to them for not putting that stuff on there. We'll pop the two ends open here. Just little regular tab type deals down here. Flip that open, and inside got a nice little felt cover for everything, like most tools like this have got. Specialty tools, I suppose we could call this. So let's see here. How do I get more of this? I'm trying to get as much of this in the shot as possible. So what you end up having here is one long bar. So what this thing does is it gets you down into like more narrow areas in between, especially on front-wheel drive cars where your belts and everything are right up against the frame rail of the car. You don't have a whole lot of clearance back in there. I know for like the old Monte Carlos that had the it was the Grand Prix that had the 5.3. They had the GTP, I think, had the 5.3 in it. Like engines like that even like don't have a whole lot of space for you to be able to get in there and get to belts and that kind of thing. So that's what this thing is supposed to make up for. So it has a long bar here, and you can just kind of fit your fittings that are in the end of this thing on the end. If it has a, well, in theory, you should be able to fit these down in here. There we go. Okay. So if it has a hex drive on it, you can use this. There are, some vehicles that use like the regular square end drive for like a ratchet or that kind of thing. So there are adapters in here for that as well. Okay, so they got a ball lock on the end to kind of lock them in. I was really hoping on this one, because I've seen some of the cheaper rental tools and stuff the parts stores have. They have like a little square drive coming out of the end of the bar, and those actually, I've seen the holes on the backside kind of round out and cause those to become loose. This here, you're not going to have a whole lot of play, so once you get your once you get on whatever you're trying to loosen up with this, this isn't going to like move around and go places on you. This is going to actually stay in place. And again, with the ball in place, this thing does not, it's not easy to fall out or anything like that either. And like if you need to put a socket on, they got a lock on the end of the square drives here as well. So there's that. And okay, so your hex end down here, they have labeled right next to it that this is 16 millimeter, and the 12 point down here is a 13 millimeter. So I guess if you're just going to use the bar, you can get into stuff with that too, as long as you've got enough clearance to be able to get to it. If it has like a hex that's actually sticking off of the whatever pulley you're trying to loosen up. This, by the way, is also only for automatic belt tensioners that have like a spring-loaded kind of deal behind it or something along those lines. Some of them are hydraulic as well. If you have one that is manually tensioned by a bolt, of course, this isn't really going to do much for you. But this was a nice thing to have on hand, because we got to do a timing belt job on my little brother's TSX soon, which is a K24 Honda engine in it, and I believe it does have an automatic belt tensioner on it. And again, it is also front-wheel drive, so we don't have a whole lot of clearance between the pulleys and the frame rail. So this can make getting the belt on and off a lot easier. My other little brother had a Ford Escort for a while. It was a ZX2 SR, I think it was. Probably around like 97, 98, something like that. And that thing, he had issues with getting the belt knocked off of it constantly anyway. So this really would have been a help in that situation, but that car's gone. So and it looks like if you need a longer extension to it, there is a second bar in here as well. So you can actually put that in here. And that should, yeah, set right down inside of this bar to kind of make a little more length to this. And then it's got threads inside of it that you can thread a bolt that is included in the kit here into the back side of this, kind of hold everything together. Let's see, the actual insert itself is threaded, so I imagine that you will want to thread this through the back side to hold the extension into the main part of the bar. Once we have that, that does stick out past a little bit, so that may be problematic in getting into things. But so your other thing too, your other adapters that you have that come with this, well, okay, and then there's a lot of pieces in this, so bear with me as I take things on and off, but should just about have that out of there. We'll drop that too, just for good measure. So this kit also has 2 different length extension bars. Let's see. Alright, so part of your other interesting stuff that goes along with this is these 2 different extension bars have a 15 and a 16 millimeter. So 16 millimeter hex, again, like it was previously, so you can put your other sockets and everything you got over here in it. And then the 12 point is actually a 15 millimeter on both of these, but there are 2 different length extensions that come with this kit as well, so you can kind of try and get these back into places you need them into without being too long and like getting into other things beyond that point. So those exist as well. And then your other option too, especially if you end up in a really narrow spot, again, we get this all set up here. I'm going to put our 3/8 adapter in the end of this, because even though we already have some of these, the kit actually also includes crow's feet. So if you need a crow's foot adapter to get into whatever you're trying to get to, you can use crow's feet with this as well. This would be like in a super narrow application where like your regular socket isn't going to fit. Ideally, you don't use open end wrenches on stuff any more than you have to, because they will slip, and round fasteners, but sometimes you get into situations where you have to have that crow's foot. Let me see if I can get this thing back off of here now. That could be interesting too. Just use the bolt to pop this back through. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay, well. Brand new tools and they're broken forever. Can't use that. Really don't have anything handy here to pop this back through. So, yeah, maybe an interesting side note with your crow's feet, that these adapters aren't exactly easy to take back off of there. I may just save that for later. That way you guys don't get the joy of watching me struggle. It's probably going to make loud noises here, and I apologize when it does. I'm going to like end up shooting the wall with this or something. There we go. Hey, I win. They're separate. So that is a look at about everything that's inside of this kit here. Should pretty well set you up for any automatic belt tensioners that you have to separate. And your OTC part number for this, if you need this for later, or if you need this for yourself, is 4645. I got this off of Tooltopia, I believe, is the best place I found price-wise for the time being. So that's where that came from. You know what? Really quickly. We probably ought to buzz back through real quick and give you part numbers on all this other stuff that we have here if you want one for yourself. The Milwaukee 22-ounce hammer that I got is part number 48-22-9022. So if you go looking it up online, you could probably find it pretty easily with that part number. It's this one. Whoops. Let's see. It looks like the Husky is 1044655 Kind of a mouthful. Maybe easier to use the UPC code. I'm trying not to make awful noises, I promise, but I'm in a really small area here. And then your 45-piece bit set that we were talking about earlier, if you couldn't see the numbers from the stream, it is 48-32-4023 is your Milwaukee number for that one. And the idea for me usually for doing this kind of stuff is I intend to make videos out of them eventually. That's why I try to be a little more formal and that kind of thing here. Whenever I do actually get to putting the videos together and stuff, I probably will have links in the description and all that sort of thing. So, all right. And actually, I forgot one little thing here on the bar. Do that. Put that back in place. Professional streaming things. Silence the phone. All better. Okay. All right. And I kind of tried to save my my biggest part of everything here for last. Also the priciest part of everything. So, get a little bit of water here really quickly to kind of continue to be able to talk. Talking is important during live streaming. Turns out. And coffee just to keep me alive. I require coffee to live. All right. So, I can't even get this out of the frame. I'm kind of curious too. Does OBS still? There it is. Okay. It's gonna be something to find uptime on OBS. I'm used to being able to like look right in Twitch and being able to find it there. So the last thing that we have to show is, oh, I don't know that that's really ideal to have on there, but you do this. We have an M18 3/8 drive impact that we have got here. As far as stuff that is on the packaging for this, tells you what all it includes. We'll talk about that in a minute. It is a stubby 3/8 impact, so it does have a little bit less of an issue with clearance in tight spaces. One of the bullet points that they had for this impact as well is that it has 250 foot-pounds of torque is what they claim on this thing. Even my my old DeWalt that was a half-inch drive, big 18-volt battery on it, heavy thing, claimed 300. So 250 should be plenty to be able to break lug nuts loose and all that kind of thing. So I guess we'll find out when we actually go to use this thing, which will probably be live streamed later, potentially on Twitch. I don't expect we're going to hit 1,000 subscribers here all that fast, so that is a thing as well. So let's see. And they have maximum workspace visibility. Okay, they may be talking about the LED lights that are in the end of this thing, which we'll also take a look at in a minute. So let's see what else is on here to talk about. Our part number for this kit is Milwaukee number 2854-22 is your number for this kit if you're looking for it later. I'm going to show that sticker again that I didn't want to show. Let's see. What else do they talk about back here? This thing has 4.8 inches of depth. So, again, if you're working in tight spaces, there's less than 5 inches worth of drill here. Or impact, I guess I should say. Let's see. Okay, yeah, they are actually talking about the LED lights because they do have the maximum workspace visibility brought up on the back here again, and that's what they're talking about. Let's see. This does have a friction ring type anvil on it. Let's see. I'll talk about a couple other little things that are on the back of here in a minute. 3.9 pounds is your weight for this, so it's not terribly heavy either. Okay, now we're having dropout. Let's see. Okay. It's probably just a dip, a momentary dip, I would think. Yeah, because now we're back to excellent. Okay. Yep, I think we just hit a dip in the frame or the bit rate there. But let's see, other things to talk about here. Okay, they have RPMs and stuff on here, but we'll get into that in a minute because there's a couple other little things we want to talk about concurrent with that. Looks like the tool itself has a 5-year warranty. The batteries have 3 years. The charge. Okay, I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll show you a whole bunch of other tools that this stuff is compatible with. Power stick brushless motor. The motor inside of this thing is apparently brushless, so you shouldn't have to worry about brushes wearing out in the long term with this motor that's inside of here. And it has RedLink Plus Intelligence, whatever that is. It looks like from kind of the see-through kind of picture they give you on the backside here, there's the motor they're talking about. They show a little circuit board down inside of the actual handle of the tool itself. So that may very possibly be where this whole RedLink Plus Intelligence comes in, and then they show you the battery pack that's down at the bottom of it. So, of course, you know, we've already seen the outside of the casing where it's talking about the stuff that's included in this kit, so I probably could have just, you know, not been difficult and actually talked about it anyway. But get this sleeve slid off the outside of the case here. So one of the things you do get with this kit is a carrying case. So if we remove this, I'm going to leave this handy because we're going to need it again here in just a minute. So carrying case that comes with the kit. Pretty, I think it's a pretty good looking case. Actually, mine looks like it's been through some shipping damage too, so that's handy. Whoops, again. So, yeah, compared to the DeWalt case that I had previously, I think this one does look a little bit better as far as the case goes. But again, a couple of clasps out here on the end. Both those opened up. Try to do this without dropping everything everywhere. Right, and this is what we have inside. Paperwork that's going to fall out. Alright, so there's your look inside of the kit, other than the paperwork that fell out. So, if I can actually have this thing in here without hitting the wall and stuff. And we'll get the paperwork back, because we always talk about the paperwork first, because it's the least entertaining part of the bunch. So what do we have in here? Okay, so the two separate manuals they include for this, as we were looking at it here, there are 2 batteries that are included with this kit. We have our 3/8 impact driver, and then we have a battery charger as well. So in the manuals for this, they include manual for the tool itself, and then they include a manual for the charger. So you have each of those. They've got on here, new batteries must be charged for first use. I don't think you're going to take this stuff right out of the package and actually start using it. I can tell you that batteries that are in this thing, so there's a little battery status checker on the front of the batteries. And actually, we can slide this right off of here. Take a look at the battery itself. They have a battery status indicator on the front here. This thing does show a little bit of charge to it, but not much. So you're not going to get very much out of this thing right when you first pull it out of the box. So make sure you charge these things first. Usually when they ship lithium batteries like this, they ship it in a partially charged state because it lasts longer that way. Its shelf life is better in a mid-charge kind of state. If you fully charge a battery and then leave it set on the shelf for, a year or whatever, you may come back to a bad battery. Turns out lithium batteries do not like sitting for a long period of time. It's not really great on them, but time has its own wear characteristics on these things as well. But this is the XC 5.0 battery pack. This is their red line. The 5.0 5 amp hour is the output of this pack. So if you needed a heavier duty battery, I know they have the 6.0 and I believe they have an 8.0 as well. So like if you're part of the M18 line, you can get like a weed eater. So if you got a weed eater, I'd probably use like the 8 amp hour pack so you can output more power to spin the head of the weed eater faster. But this one is a 5 amp, and well, technically if you wanted to run it with this 5 amp, you could. So doesn't necessarily mean that you have to run out and buy new batteries just because you buy other tools. That was one of the things that I liked about this set, was that the M18 line had a bunch of other stuff that I wanted as well. There is like a portable bandsaw that you can get in the M18 line, which is awesome. And I would like to get one of those eventually. And yeah, so these batteries will work on that as well. I don't know if the amperage output will be quite what those things will want, but these work just fine anyway. I guess if I get like an M18 drill later on down the road, these are going to work great for that. But yeah, we get 2 of them to start with, so that's a good starter kit. This is kind of like a starter kit kind of deal. You can buy the tools separately if you already got batteries and a charger and all that sort of thing. I don't have the part number for that right offhand, although I could probably look it up pretty quickly here. No, I can't, because I took a picture of the kit and not the tool by itself. But yeah, so that is your battery that you're getting along with this kit. So I guess next thing we can kind of show off is the charger. It did actually state that this is both a 12 volt and an 18 volt charger. As far as I know, with Milwaukee, I think the M12 and the M18 line is all they have. So you're looking at either 12 or 18 volt tools. The thing to watch too is with other manufacturers, they may have like a 20 volt or something like that, but your amperage output is going to actually determine the watts that the battery will output, which is a measurement of power. Watts is. So to figure out how powerful the tool is going to be, you can multiply your voltage by your amperage, your current output, and that's going to give you power, which is watts. So you may actually have an 18 volt tool that outputs a higher amperage, that has a higher amp output, that will actually have a higher power output than what like a 20 volt does. So just because we have an M18 here instead of an M20 doesn't necessarily mean that these tools are going to be any less powerful. So that's something to kind of consider as well. Your M12s, as long as the amperage output is the same, should in theory have less power. But yeah, I guess it's something else to kind of take into consideration. All right, so this will charge both this style pack, and then there's like smaller, there are smaller packs that will slot up into the end of a tool and kind of reduce, so you don't have this big bulky battery hanging off the bottom of your tool. And this charger actually has that charger right here in the top. It has a little area that'll charge those batteries as well. I don't have any to show you, or I would, because it would probably make for a little better visual. And then it has like the guide for what the charger is doing whenever it's charging. So if we can focus, maybe. Autofocus, why do you hate me? There you go. So if we're actually in the middle of charging, it does a long blink of a red light. If water level inside of your battery is rising, then it stays solid red. Oh, I'll bet you if it's a delay, it does long red flashes, and then when it's charging, it's a solid red. When the battery's charged, it turns green. If it has a temperature issue, it will blink red quickly. If the battery is bad, it will quickly blink back and forth between red and green. So, that's our charger. I get to put this thing to use soon to charge these batteries. And then, actually, it looks like... Is there anything else hiding in here underneath the stuff? There's more paperwork in here. For one key. I have no idea what this is. I have no idea where this... Whoops. Sorry for the loud noises. We're working on tools here, so things happen. Customize, track, and manage. Smart tools and equipment. Sync wirelessly, online and mobile record keeping. Digital platform for tools and equipment. That doesn't tell me anything. So that's that's just... The description could use a little bit of improvement. Let's see. For more information on any of the tools you see here, simply plug in the model number at milwaukeetool.com. Okay, so is this like a big catalog of all the different stuff you guys have? There's a big thank you on here. Heavy duty newsletter, access to e-service, contests and giveaways, one key inventory management. What is the inventory management aspect of this? That's what I can see. Okay, well, we're talking about all the different tools and everything they carry. There's a little bit of an idea of everything. Well, actually, that's everything. Almost kind of looks like a power washer in here too. It's crazy the amount of stuff that they offer. There's a battery-powered caulking gun in here, it looks like, which is pretty cool. Battery-powered hose cutter if you need that. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff in here. Looks like the only ones... So they have cameras in here as well, so that could be interesting too. A lot of lights and stuff they have in here look interesting. I would like to get one of their Sawzalls eventually too. And wow, okay, so we open it up and there's that much more. So Milwaukee has a pretty wide offering of things, if you weren't aware. But I was kind of hoping for a little more information on what this inventory management was, but I'm not seeing it. Is there more stuff with the... Okay, so there are only certain things that have the little wireless logo next to it, and I'm guessing those are the things that are probably trying to think of my words here. Those are probably the things that have the inventory management deal, which I don't know what you would need inventory management for on a impact wrench, but or a battery powered impact, I guess you should call it. Some of the saws and stuff they have too, I mean, I'd like to get some of those. Again, this is stuff that's all going to come with time, so who knows when that'll actually happen, but I'm kind of curious to what some of this stuff is. Like, I'm looking at it and I don't even know what I'm looking at. But yeah, so they don't really describe what the whole inventory management thing is from in here, so I guess that'll be something we'll have to figure out on our own later. Don't know how this went together. There we go. That works. So yeah, in the bottom of here is just some paperwork showing you other tools and stuff you can buy with this kit as well. Okay, so I guess with all that said, we should probably get into the actual impact itself. One of the other things that I really liked about this, other than the fact that it does have LED lights in the front of it to kind of light where you're trying to work, so you don't have to have a separate light for it. I mean, lights always help. I guess you could pull the trigger really lightly and use this thing as a light too if you need to, and it would probably have a lot of battery life in that big of a pack. One of the other things that's nice about it too is down here we have 4 different settings for how strong we want the impact to be. So like if you're actually breaking something loose, you can use one setting, whereas with the other one on the far end, maybe you're just trying to, maybe you've already got stuff broken loose and you're just trying to finish removing it. One of my main things for getting this was to be able to use it as like a, if I've got bolts that have already broken loose, to be able to just kind of use it and finish zapping the thing back out if it's not a rust-filled bolt. If you have a rusty bolt and you try to run it out with something like this, there is a very distinct possibility that as it's running out, rust will cause the fastener to build up heat even more, which will cause it to expand within the hole, which causes binding, and then you end up breaking it. If the rust jamming up inside of the threads itself doesn't cause it to break. So you got to be careful with rustier bolts and using these kinds of things, but if you're working on something that's fairly new, I guess, and doesn't have a whole bunch of corrosion and stuff built up on it, then you can use this kind of thing to help finish backing stuff out. Like I use a lot of stainless hardware and stuff when I replace bolts. If you're using it on stuff inside, this can be super handy for just being able to take stuff back out. So where we were talking earlier with let me see how I'm going to do this. We're talking with it having different RPMs and that kind of thing. Let's see, we've gotten into everything else in here, so I can probably just set this on the floor for now. I've got if there's like a fire or anything, if there's a fire or anything in here, it's going to be really fun trying to get back out. But, okay, so as far as the RPMs, it's got, I don't know what IPM is. Impacts per minute. Okay. So your RPMs in the smallest range of the bunch is going to be 0 to 800. Again, depending on where you place the trigger. So you could actually, reduce your RPM and all that kind of thing by just pulling the trigger less. But that setting allows you to basically floor it and not break stuff is kind of the idea behind that. So we have 0 to 800, 0 to 1650, 0 to 2400, and 0 to 2400. So going from setting 3 to setting 4 really has no point whatsoever. Maybe it changes. Okay. So there's actually 3 settings on this thing, and your 4th setting, quote unquote, is your nut busting torque, which in both 3 and 4 is 250 foot-pound. It actually states on the back side of here, so really I'm not sure what the point of that 4th setting is. And like if you're even asking if it's the impacts, so on the first setting is 0 to 1000, you have 0 to 2400 on the second, and then both 3 and 4 are 0 to 3500. So I'm not sure what that 4th nut busting torque setting is even for. Please don't hate me, YouTube algorithm, for saying words that could be construed with dirty minds to be other things. So when they ship this thing, they ship it in a middle position, so you don't actually have to worry about the thing kicking on and rotating and all that thing while it's inside of the case. You can actually transport it in that setting as well, so you don't have to worry about it. We have both forward and reverse on a switch that's like right in front of the trigger, so it's kind of convenient as far as not having to free a hand up in order to be able to get to that. The grip here in the middle is actually made of rubber as well, so it has a nice little grip to it down here. So like if your hands are oily or something, it's probably less likely that you're going to drop this thing, which for spending as much money on this thing as you did, you probably don't want to do too much. But I mean, I guess it's an impact. It's going to see some impacts. but your plastic casing on the outside of the tool we want to try to not break. So try not to drop this thing on its head too much. One of the things that I did notice that was different on the M18 from the M12 as well is this little fitting down here on the end. And from what I understand, this is more for like being able to carry like bits with you, or like to put on a tool belt or that kind of thing. It looks like the fitting to take that back off of there is Torx inside of it, and they also have a slotted option as well. But you have the option to remove that too if it's going to be a clearance issue for you. So that is a feature as well, and it actually has a spot on the other side to switch sides on it too if you need to switch sides. So we have that going for us, and like other than that, I'm not seeing a whole lot on this tool that's probably really worth talking a lot about. I mean, obviously it's got screws in it. You can take it apart if you really want to void your warranty. Technically, they cannot void your warranty for doing that too, by the way. I'm not sure the exact legislation that was under. I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but there is legislation stating that they can't void your warranty just because you decided to open it and try to work on it yourself. Companies are like continuously trying to undo that for us, which is why right to repair is important. So yeah, get behind right to repair as much as you can as humanly possible, unless you want to have to send everything you buy back to the manufacturer to have it fixed. Otherwise, they are required to give you parts and stuff. Actually, that middle position is like a lockout. So it locks you from actually using that. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But, yeah, other than that, I really don't think there's a whole lot else to talk about. You may be able to actually buy parts for this thing separate and service it as you see fit. But, yeah, that's our new fancy shiny tool that we've got. So yeah, I can show this thing on Instagram and stuff now, I guess, now that you guys have seen it first. So try to do the unboxings here before we share with other places. So that should be the last of our unboxings, and there's your lights. Apparently whenever you plug the battery in, kicks the lights on, just to let you know, hey, I have power now. Don't like put this in your nose and pull the trigger. So, alright, that's that for the unboxing portion of the stream. I am going to go ahead and we'll do a little bit of talking about some of life update type things here and what we've been into. So, whoops, there is now a battery powered impact there, and I can't set my bottle there. Okay. So I guess there's not really a whole lot for me to talk about as far as what I've been getting into. I've been working a bunch. I think just this past weekend even, it was like 27, 28 hours I made between like Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. So yeah, put a lot of time in here. I have been toying around with a couple of things, and I guess we'll switch over real quick and I'll show you Instagram here to kind of, well, I mean, you already saw it, but anyway. Let's go back over to this, and this is kind of part of what I was toying around with. So we were talking about battery packs and stuff for the Milwaukee stuff. This is one for the 20-volt DeWalt drill that I have. I noticed that it was really easy to take apart, so I was like, whatever, I'm just going to pop the top cover off of this thing real quick. Took a look down inside of here, and you can actually see lettering right here. And what I ended up finding out was that was Samsung is what's printed across the side of that. These are 18650 cells that are in the inside of this 20-volt pack. There are 5 of them. And whereas for a battery, you may pay $100 to buy another battery pack to replace inside of your tools. This thing has, you know, maybe $25 worth of cells in the inside of the thing. So in theory, if you should be able to take this thing apart and replace the batteries inside for a lot less than what replacing the whole pack is going to cost you. Now, the thing to take into consideration with this, which I didn't realize at the time that I had posted this picture, and I think Yeah, because I'd actually talked about, well, that should be easy enough. Well, it's not super easy. You do require actually a little bit of tooling in order to be able to get into this. Okay, so it was tamper-proof torque, so it wasn't like super easy to get into, but I happened to have the stuff like right there to be able to get into it, so I did. So if we switch back over to the main camera here, which is right there, I ended up doing a similar project, taking apart a 14.4 volt pack, which has nickel cadmium cells in it. This, I'd have to do a little more digging to figure out what the cells are in this thing in order to be able to replace this. But this goes inside of this style of pack, which is kind of more similar to what we have over there. But the way they were showing in the drawing was, it looks like the cells inside of the Milwaukee tool were actually loaded sideways. So, and the way they picture this, it looks like there is probably 10 of these inside of the Milwaukee pack. So I don't know if they load more cells in, if it just gives the longer battery life. I would assume the way they organize these is what's going to determine voltage. So I guess depending on how you wire them up. So it may have, 5 packs and 5 packs, and then to determine voltage, and then it links the two together so that you get more capacity. If you run stuff in series or parallel, it'll actually change whether you're just packing more amperage in or if you're packing more voltage in. So that's things they can do to kind of change that around. And maybe that's why the DeWalt only has 5 batteries across the bottom. The Milwaukee has 10, which will make the Milwaukee battery pack heavier, which is a little bit closer to what this thing is whenever it has this loaded into it. But because lithium is a little bit lighter than what the old nickel cadmium batteries were. But yeah, that's something they've got going for them. Now, as far as actually taking one of these things apart, I found out I got myself into a little more work than what I thought I did. Because looking down inside of that pack, I was like, well, there's just little metal shims along the outside that make the batteries contact together, and they have it, put together with a spring in the middle. And that's what's actually holding the batteries apart. Well, that's not the case. So this pack here has like a kind of paper bottom on it that has glue stuck to it. I've already started peeling this thing back a little bit because I was curious. And they have these little tabs that are on the bottom of these battery packs they're spot welded onto the batteries. I have to do a little bit more looking into figuring out exactly what I'm getting myself into by trying to spot weld batteries. But there are cheap battery spot welders out there that are like 25 or 50 bucks, so you may not be looking at the price of a full-blown spot welder in order to get yourself into one of these. So I may toy around with replacing these. This one was actually bad, and that's why I tore it apart a little bit more than I did the other ones. But the lithium one, I was a little bit skittish on taking apart because it wasn't actually bad. But it looks like that little plastic casing over the top of it does come apart. So I'm hoping if I ever need to service one of those that cells are super easy to find in the 18650 variety. These, I'm afraid, may be a little more difficult. I'm going to have to do a little bit more looking around to figure out exactly what I'm dealing with here. Everywhere I've tested this thing and tried to pick up voltage on it, like I've tried from up here, I've tried actually contacting the batteries themselves, both top and bottom, and from one cell to the next, and I'm not getting any voltage coming up on a multimeter. So I don't know what's going on with this thing, but it acts like it's completely dead. It's not going to take any charge, and yeah, there's a little bit of learning to do there. And I guess it's like you have a metal tab that's in between that as well. So that may be actually spot welded to the top of this. I'm not sure what all's going on up here, what this is exactly, but there are like numbers and stuff on the side of this that could help indicate what is actually going on there. But I haven't done enough research to actually go much further. I've just kind of taken the pack out of the batteries out of the pack, I guess I should say. This thing was interesting to kind of trying to get to come up out of here too, because there are like little shims and stuff basically in between the cells on the inside of this pack, so it was really interesting. I had to like wiggle it back and forth a little bit to actually get it free, but I did manage to pull the pack out of there. Keep messing around with batteries. It's kind of a little unnerving thinking about actually spot welding these things because batteries don't like heat, it turns out. Lithium really does not like heat. So, yeah, if I get myself a spot welder, hopefully I don't like blow my hand off or anything. But, yeah, I'm kind of tempted to rebuild these and see what I can do to remanufacture my own battery packs to save, basically 3/4 of the cost of this thing. I'm going to have a little bit in getting a battery spot welder, but if I can rebuild these things and save myself the cost, as many of these batteries as I have sitting around, it may actually be a good process to figure out on my own. So, that said, I don't really think there's a whole lot else to talk about. This Saturday, I'm supposed to be going to an autocross here locally. I was going to live stream that to YouTube, but once I figured out that we had the whole 1,000 subscriber limitation to be able to live stream from mobile, not going to be doing that, am I? So, unless I can figure out a way to get Streamlabs set up inside of the phone to stream to YouTube, and maybe I can do it from there. I'm not sure. The mobile limitation may be just to just if you're trying to do like the in-app live stream. I'm not sure. That'll be interesting to try and figure out. So, yeah, I guess outside of that, there's really not a whole lot else to talk about here. If you guys are watching here on the Gamma Automotive channel, FYI, there is also a Gamma Tech and a Gamma Gameplays channel as well. Twitch, let's see, what am I over on Twitch? I can't even remember. I am Best95Neon over on Twitch. And then as far as like Twitter and all that kind of thing, it should have links on my actual profile on YouTube to be able to link you to all those. Make sure you're checking out socials and that kind of thing, kind of stay up a little bit more with what I'm doing. I don't really post a whole bunch on a lot of the socials. The Instagram is probably the place where I'm posting the most, and as of late it hasn't been much there either, just because I haven't had stuff to take pictures of. I can't update a whole lot on what we've been getting done on the CRV the last couple weeks. 1 week I had issues with having stuff together that I actually needed in order to be able to work on things, and the following week it rained, so I went and took the Miata in and did a oil change on it. And while I was in there, I did a recording for like an actual walkthrough of the car and what all was going on with it. I'm sure I missed some stuff and all that kind of thing on the walkthrough as well. But yeah, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a walkthrough of the car before we tear the thing apart. So once the CRV is up and running, the plan is to replace the Miata. The Miata's probably going to stay around for a little while as a backup car to the CRV, so that if I needed to like take it down for a day to do maintenance, I've got something I'm able to drive back and forth to work. Or if the CRV randomly decides to crap out, at least I have a backup car. I will have to drive the Miata on occasion, and given the condition of the battery currently, that's going to be an interesting situation. I'm going to have to like take the battery on and off every time I want to drive the thing. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan for what we have coming up car-wise. And then I'm working on other really big things that may change, streams, the car's storage situation, all of my stuff being packed into like 2 rooms may change. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Still trying to work a lot of different avenues for stuff like that. So anyway, appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out. I think that's all the closing stuff I've got to talk about here. And we'll see you guys for the next live stream. Like I said earlier, I'm not entirely decided as far as like what channel I'm going to be putting all the live streams on. I will probably live stream. If one of the channels starts taking off, I will probably start live streaming to that one more. Just because I want it to kind of be a hangout place. But if you guys want to keep up with everything I've got going on, make sure you subscribe to all 3 channels. And yeah, you shouldn't miss anything. So yeah, appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out. And we'll see you guys for the next stream. Bye, guys.